It begins with a silence so heavy it almost feels staged, a silence that hides a truth people whisper about but rarely admit openly, that sometimes the heart chooses destruction over destiny, desire over duty, passion over legacy. And when a woman finally confesses the secret she has carried for years, choosing her forbidden lover over the empire she was meant to inherit, it becomes more than a scandal. It becomes a haunting reminder that love is not always gentle, logical, or loyal. It becomes a question that burns. What really drives someone to risk everything for a love that can never be acknowledged? And it is in that unsettling moment that you must hear this. This story is not here to judge, but to open your eyes, your heart, and your mind to the shadows where desire and conscience collide. Disclaimer: this is a dramatic content for awareness and discussion only. It was 2017, in the quiet upscale edge of Savannah, Georgia, where Spanish moss hangs from ancient oak trees like secrets stretching through generations. This is where Elena Caldwell, the only daughter of the wealthy Caldwell lineage, lived in a house that wasn't just a home, but a symbol of everything she was expected to protect. The family business, the family reputation, the family legacy, all resting on her shoulders since the day her mother died and her father began grooming her to take the throne of their century-old empire. But Elena, with her soft voice, sharp mind, and secretive eyes, carried something inside her that no one in the Caldwell circle could have imagined. Something dangerous, something taboo, something that began the night she met a man named Michael Torres under a flickering porch light at a charity event where neither of them belonged for the same reasons. He was there as event security, quiet, observant, wearing a suit that didn't hide the fact that he came from a world far from privilege. She was there as the honored heir. Their eyes met across a room dripping with chandeliers and whispered politics, and something inside her paused, as if destiny itself took one breath backward before surging forward with a force she could no longer control. A force she didn't want to control. And from that very moment, her life began splitting into two: what she was meant to be, and what she secretly longed for when she closed her eyes at night. She tried to resist. For weeks, Elena pretended the spark wasn't real. She told herself it was a passing attraction, one that would fade. But late one evening, after another suffocating family dinner, she walked outside for air and found Michael alone near the driveway, leaning against the security car as if fate had placed him there. The way he said her name, hesitant, unsure if he even had the right to speak it, sent a shiver through her that felt like the truth she'd been denying. They talked, only for minutes, about nothing and everything. But in those minutes, she felt more seen than she had in her entire privileged life. So she broke the rule she had lived by for 28 years. She let someone touch the part of her heart that had never belonged to the Caldwells. The nights that followed became stolen moments, brief, breathless encounters in the shadows where the Caldwell name held no power. Michael didn't treat her like a legacy. He treated her like a woman, one who laughed freely, who argued passionately, who wanted more from life than simply inheriting responsibility. And with every stolen breath, every whispered confession, Elena sank deeper into a forbidden love she knew she could never reveal. Not to her father, not to her family, not to anyone who believed that the heir to a dynasty should never mix worlds, never break rank, never love outside the boundary of expectation. But love, real love, the dangerous kind, does not care about boundaries. It grows where it shouldn't. It thrives in shadows. It burns through the walls built to protect the heart. And as Elena and Michael grew closer, the stakes grew higher. Because someone began to notice the change in her. Someone who watched her too closely. Someone who had something to lose if Elena followed her heart instead of the family script. One afternoon, her father sent for her. His voice was colder than the marble floors of their estate. He spoke of duty, of bloodline, of alliances that shaped fortunes. He reminded her, without actually saying it, that she had no right to feel anything other than what the Caldwell legacy demanded, that her future marriage would strengthen their empire, that emotions were luxuries the wealthy could not afford. Elena listened, expressions still, heartbreaking to pieces behind her steady gaze. Because even as he lectured her, her phone buzzed quietly in her pocket. Michael's name glowing softly like the life she actually wanted. The pressure intensified. Family meetings, business expectations, subtle surveillance. Elena felt the walls closing in on her as if her heart was a crime scene waiting to be exposed. But the truth? She didn't want to give Michael up. Not now. Not after he had awakened a part of her soul she had thought was dead. Not after he had looked at her like she was more than the Caldwell name. And definitely not after he whispered to her one night, voice shaking, hands trembling, that he had fallen in love with her even though he knew it could ruin them both. That confession changed everything. Because love like theirs was not meant to survive in the world she came from. And yet, she wanted it. She needed it. She chose it, even though she knew the cost would be catastrophic. It was only a matter of time before her father discovered the truth, a truth that would shatter expectations, scorch reputations, and destroy the future he had planned for her. And the night he finally confronted her, rage simmering beneath his controlled exterior, the only thing more terrifying than his disappointment was the ultimatum he delivered with chilling calm. Choose the legacy or lose everything. But what happens to a woman who chooses her lover over her legacy, knowing the world will judge her, her family will disown her, and her destiny will crumble before her eyes? What pushes someone to abandon generations of privilege for a love born in secrecy and rebellion? If this story has touched you so far, kindly comment, "I'm following." Share this story with all who need to hear it. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVC. Follow for more chilling, emotional, real-life inspired stories, and turn on the notification bell as Elena takes her next step, trembling yet determined, toward a choice that will alter her life forever. One that will plunge her deeper into the forbidden fire she can no longer escape. Elena didn't sleep the night her father issued the ultimatum. The house felt colder than ever, as if the walls themselves knew that something inside them was about to break beyond repair. She walked through the dim corridors of the Caldwell estate, the same halls she grew up in, the same floors where her mother once whispered bedtime stories about courage and choice, stories Elena only now understood were preparing her for a war she never expected to fight. Her father's words kept replaying in her head. Choose the legacy or lose everything. What was everything, she wondered? The money? The business? The privilege? Or the tiny fragments of love she had left for the man who raised her, even if he raised her like a fragile trophy instead of a daughter with a beating heart? She slipped out to the backyard gazebo where Michael had once waited for her, leaning against the wooden rail under a quiet Georgia moon. It was here he first told her about his past, about growing up in a part of town where life came fast and dreams came slow. He never pretended to be anything other than what he was. A man with simple desires, honest intentions, and a love so pure it scared her more than her father's fury ever could. And now, standing alone where their hands once intertwined, Elena felt the weight of the choice pressing down on her chest, like a storm she couldn't outrun. Michael sensed something was wrong before she even knocked on his apartment door the next morning. He opened it wearing the expression of a man bracing for impact. His tiny one-bedroom place contrasted everything she had ever known: chipped counters, worn-out furniture, and the soft smell of coffee and struggle. Yet Elena felt more at home there than in her own mansion. He didn't reach for her immediately. Instead, he asked quietly, "Did he find out?" She nodded, and the look on Michael's face, fear, love, helplessness, cut deeper than any confrontation with her father ever could. She told him everything: the ultimatum, the threats, the unspoken promise that her father would destroy Michael's life if she didn't fall back in line. For a long moment, Michael didn't breathe. He just stared at her, jaw clenched, eyes shining with the realization that their love story had finally stepped into the battlefield they both feared. "Elena," he whispered, taking her hands, "I don't ever want to be the reason you lose your family." But she shook her head because she already knew the truth. She had been losing them long before Michael came into her life. Piece by piece, expectation by expectation, silence by silence. The next few days felt like walking on broken glass. The Caldwell estate began tightening its invisible chains. Her father's assistants monitored her schedule. A family associate started checking in unexpectedly. Business meetings increased as if they were trying to drown out her rebellion by burying her in responsibility. And through it all, Elena felt herself fading into a version of the Caldwell heir she no longer recognized. But forbidden love has its own gravity, and on the nights she couldn't bear the suffocation, she found her way back to Michael. Every embrace felt like stolen oxygen. Every whispered "I love you" felt like another thread pulling her away from the world she was raised for and deeper into the world she chose. They made promises they hoped they could keep. Promises to fight, to stay strong, to survive the storm that was coming. And the storm arrived faster than either of them expected. One afternoon, Elena was pulled into a meeting with her father and an unfamiliar older man, a real estate magnate known for ruthless business deals and strategic alliances. Her father spoke with polished precision about future partnerships and family negotiations. But it wasn't until the man's eyes lingered on Elena with a knowing, almost assessing look that she realized what was happening. Her father wasn't just threatening her future, he was arranging it. She felt her stomach drop. This wasn't a conversation, it was a transaction, and she was the leverage. She confronted her father afterward, voice trembling with a mixture of rage and heartbreak. "You're deciding my life without even asking me." He didn't flinch. "Your life stopped being just your own the moment you were born into this family. You carry a responsibility larger than your feelings, larger than your mistakes." The word mistakes hit her like a slap. He wasn't just dismissing her relationship. He was dismissing her humanity. When she returned to Michael that night, she broke down in his arms, shaking with fear and fury. She told him everything about the meeting, the deal, the unspoken arrangement. Michael held her as if he could protect her from the empire looming over her, but Elena knew the truth. He couldn't, not alone. "I'll fight for us," he told her. "I'll take whatever comes." But Elena pressed her fingers to his lips, tears streaking her face. "You don't understand. They can ruin you. They can ruin everything you've worked for." Michael looked at her with a quiet intensity, an intensity that made her realize just how deep their love had grown. "Then let them try," he whispered. It was the bravest, most dangerous thing he had ever said. But courage doesn't stop consequences. And just when Elena thought the situation couldn't get any worse, a message arrived on her phone late the next night. A message that changed everything. A message that shattered her last bit of safety and exposed the depth of her father's reach. Her hands trembled as she read the chilling words, her heart dropping into a pit of dread as she realized her secret life wasn't secret anymore. Someone had seen them. Someone had followed them. Someone had proof. But who was it? And what were they planning to do with that proof? And how much time did Elena have before her lover, her freedom, and her entire world were ripped apart by forces she could no longer outrun? If this story has shaken your heart so far, kindly comment, "Keep going." Share this episode with everyone who needs a powerful reminder. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVC, follow for more chilling tales, and turn on the notification bell. As the storm closes in, and Elena steps into a dangerous truth that could destroy everything she holds close, dragging her deeper into a forbidden romance that is now on the brink of exposure. Elena stared at the message on her phone as if blinking would make it vanish, but the words stayed burned into the screen and into her soul. I know about you and him. Meet me tomorrow at 8 p.m. if you want this to stay quiet." The number was blocked, the tone chilling, the threat unmistakable. Someone had followed her. Someone had watched her. Someone had captured her secret in a way that could destroy Michael's livelihood, her reputation, and the entire Caldwell empire in one brutal blow. Her breath grew shallow. The walls of her room seemed to close in on her, tightening until she could barely move, barely think, barely exist. She didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the house, every distant car passing outside, every shift in the wind felt like an omen. She paced the floor, hands trembling, mind racing through 100 possibilities. Who had been following them? Was it a family associate? A business rival? One of her father's hired investigators? Someone jealous, vindictive, or hungry for leverage? The questions burned like acid, and not knowing the answer terrified her more than any certainty ever could. At dawn, she drove to Michael's apartment. She didn't knock gently. She burst inside, eyes wide with fear. Michael, still in sweatpants, instantly rushed to her, cupping her face, whispering her name like a prayer. She showed him the message. His jaw tightened. Instead of fear, a cold anger settled in his eyes. "They're trying to trap you," he murmured. "Or trap us both." She felt her voice break. "Michael, what if they already have? What if we're too late?" He pulled her close, but even in his arms, she could feel the dread vibrating between them, like a storm approaching, unrelenting, merciless. He told her he'd come with her to the meeting, but Elena shook her head violently. "No. If this is someone from my family's circle, seeing you there will make everything worse. I'll go alone. I have to." Michael grabbed her wrist, desperate. "I can't just let you walk into something dangerous." She looked up at him, eyes red, voice trembling, but resolute. "They don't want to hurt me physically. They want to control me. And the only weapon they have is our love." She paused, swallowing hard. "I can't let them use you to destroy me, or use me to destroy you." The conflict in Michael's face shattered her. He wanted to protect her, but he also knew she was right. This wasn't a battle he could fight with strength or courage. This was a war of power, manipulation, and legacy, and she was the one standing in the center of its crosshairs. The following evening came like a slow, suffocating wave of dread. At exactly 8 p.m., Elena arrived at the dimly lit rooftop of a nearly abandoned downtown garage. The wind whipped her hair around her face as she scanned the shadows, her heart pounding so loudly she wondered if it echoed through the entire structure. Footsteps emerged from behind a column. She froze, not because she recognized the figure, but because she didn't. A man stepped forward, face partially obscured by the dim lighting. Not young, not old, somewhere in between, dressed in business casual with an expression that made her stomach twist. "You don't know me," he said calmly, "but I know you, and I know him." Her voice barely found strength. "What do you want?" He held up his phone. One click, and a photograph illuminated the darkness, Elena and Michael kissing in the shadow of the gazebo. Another swipe, them holding hands in his apartment. Another swipe, Elena resting her head on his chest, eyes closed, trusting him completely. Whoever took these pictures had been close, too close. "I don't want money," he said. "I want information." She stared, confused. "Information about what?" "Your father," he replied, "and the deal he's making with the Jeffries family. I want details, names, contracts, dates, numbers, everything." Her heart dropped. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't blackmail fueled by vendetta. This was business, calculated, ruthless. And she was the perfect leverage, the forbidden romance that could incinerate her father's public image in seconds. If she refused, the photos would spread. Board members, influential partners, journalists, and worst of all, her father himself would see them. Michael's job, reputation, and safety would be obliterated. Her own life would ignite into scandal. But if she complied, if she betrayed her father's confidential negotiations, she would not only destroy the Caldwell legacy, she would become the very threat her father always warned her not to be. The man stepped closer. "You have 72 hours. After that, the world will learn exactly who you've been sneaking around with." Her breath hitched. "Why me? Why this?" He smirked. "Because you were easy, because you were afraid, and because love, especially forbidden love, makes people make mistakes." Elena drove away in a haze of panic, guilt, and desperation. She thought of Michael. She thought of her father. She thought of her mother's legacy, everything built over generations. And she thought of the man she loved more than anything, a man who had no armor against the brutality of the world she came from. She had 72 hours to decide between betraying her father or sacrificing her love, between saving her legacy or saving Michael, between protecting the empire she didn't choose or protecting the man she did. For the first time in her life, Elena realized that forbidden love wasn't just emotional, it was dangerous, it was destructive. And with every passing hour, the weight of her choice grew heavier, threatening to crush everything she had left. Later, at Michael's apartment, she broke the news. He went pale, shock carving itself into his face. "Elena, this is bigger than us." She nodded, tears dripping down her cheeks. "I know, and I don't know what to do. If I give them what they want, I betray my family. If I don't, you'll be destroyed." Michael stood still for a long moment before whispering something that made her knees weaken. "Then let me go." "No!" she cried, grabbing him. "Don't you dare say that!" "If leaving me saves you," he began, voice cracking. "It won't save me," she whispered fiercely. "It will destroy me." But fate is cruel, and forbidden love is rarely gentle. And as they held each other that night, the 72 hours began slipping away, minute by minute, like sand spilling through trembling fingers. The next morning brought something worse than fear. Another message. A video this time. A video of Michael leaving his apartment, unaware he was being filmed. A voiceover muttered, "Time is running out." Elena felt her whole body go cold. The clock was ticking faster now. The trap was tightening. And the truth she was terrified to face was beginning to rise like a storm she could no longer escape. But what will Elena do when the deadline comes? Will she betray the empire that raised her, or surrender the love that awakened her? And who is the mysterious man who seems to know every step she takes before she takes it? If this chilling story has pulled you deeper into the shadows of forbidden romance, kindly comment, "I'm here." Share this episode with those who need its lessons. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVC. Follow for more emotional and suspense-driven love stories, and turn on your notification bell. As Elena inches closer to the most devastating decision of her life, and the truth lurking behind this blackmail prepares to erupt in a way she never saw coming. The final 24 hours felt like a countdown to the end of Elena's world. She sat on the floor of Michael's apartment, knees pulled to her chest, staring at old photographs scattered around her. Some of her mother, some of her childhood, and one of her and Michael from a night they dared to dream about a future they now feared could never exist. Her heart ached with a pressure she could no longer contain. The threat hanging over them was no longer a shadow. It was a living thing, cold and breathing, creeping toward them with every passing hour. Michael paced the room with a tension so sharp it could shatter glass. He hated being helpless, hated watching the woman he loved unravel under a burden she wasn't meant to carry alone. But the truth was brutal. He had no power in her world. The Caldwell empire moved like a silent machine, funded by influence, protected by secrecy, and fueled by alliances that could crush a man like him without leaving a single trace behind. "Elena," he said softly, kneeling beside her, "you can't destroy your family's future because of me." She lifted her tear-stained face, trembling. "But I can't destroy us because of them." He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek with a tenderness that made her break all over again. They had created something beautiful in a world that wasn't meant to hold beauty. They had loved in a space where love wasn't allowed. And now they were paying the price. The message came again, this time with a location pin. No words, just those coordinates. The countdown had reached its final stretch. Elena resolved to confront the man one last time. She needed answers before making a choice that would follow her for the rest of her life. Michael begged her to let him come, but she insisted he stay behind. She feared the blackmailer more when Michael was nearby. She feared losing him in ways she could not survive. She drove alone again, heart thudding violently, the windshield wipers slicing through a relentless downpour that made the night feel darker than it already was. When she reached the location, an abandoned shipping warehouse on the edge of the river, her breath caught. The place felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Too calculated. She stepped inside cautiously, shoes echoing across concrete floors slick with humidity. The air smelled like rust and secrets. For a moment, she thought she was alone. Then a voice drifted from the shadows. "You're late." The man emerged again, but something about him felt different this time. His calmness wasn't the calmness of a stranger. It was the calmness of someone who had been waiting, watching, predicting every one of her moves with unsettling accuracy. Elena forced her voice to steady. "If you want information about my father's deals, I need to know who you are." He smirked faintly, lifting his phone as if it were a weapon. "You don't need to know my name. You just need to give me what I asked for." "And if I don't?" she asked. He tilted his head. "Your lover disappears. Quietly. Permanently." The words struck her like ice. Her knees nearly buckled. "Why? What do you want with us? What did he do?" The man stepped closer, his expression shifting from arrogance to something darker. "You think this is about him? It's about your father. Your father ruined my family, destroyed my brother, cost us everything, and you, his precious heir, are the perfect tool to break him from the inside." Elena's heart stopped. Revenge. It was all revenge. The threats, the photos, the stalking, the manipulation. Not because she fell in love with Michael, but because her father had created enemies who were now weaponizing her forbidden love to crack the empire he built. "You're hurting the wrong people," she whispered. "Am I?" he said sharply. "Your father needs to feel what loss tastes like. And you are the closest thing he has left to lose." Her stomach twisted violently. Suddenly, her entire life made sense in a horrifying new light. She wasn't a daughter. She was collateral. A symbol. A target. She took a desperate breath. "If you want to destroy him, destroy me. Leave Michael out of this." He paused, surprised, almost thrown off balance. "You'd sacrifice yourself for him?" She didn't flinch. "Yes." For a moment, silence hung so thick it felt suffocating. Then, slowly, a cruel smile spread across his face. Love really is a weakness. Before he could move, a second voice echoed through the warehouse. "Don't touch her!" Elena spun around. Michael stood in the doorway, soaked from the rain, chest rising and falling with fury. She shook her head, terrified, knowing this confrontation wasn't what she wanted. Everything inside her screamed for him to leave, to run, to protect himself. But Michael Torres was not a man who ran from love. The blackmailer's expression shifted into one of satisfaction. Ah, the night arrives. How predictable. Michael stepped forward cautiously. If you want revenge, take it out on me. Leave her out of whatever this is. Elena grabbed his arm, pleading. You shouldn't be here. Please, go. But Michael shook his head, eyes locked on the threat before them. I'd rather die than let them use you. It was the kind of sentence people say only when they understand the full weight of love and the full proximity of danger. The blackmailer glanced between them with a sinister calm. Beautiful, tragic, almost poetic. But I'm afraid your time is up. He lifted his phone, and for one horrifying moment Elena thought he had triggered something, an exposure, an attack, a death sentence. But instead, a notification tone echoed through the warehouse. The blackmailer looked at his screen, and his expression cracked. He turned the phone toward Elena. A headline glowed across the display. Caldwell family scandal under federal investigation. Secrets exposed. Her eyes widened. What is this? The man's hands shook. This wasn't me. Someone else leaked everything. Elena felt her world tilt. Someone else. Someone with access. Someone deeper inside the Caldwell empire than she ever imagined. Someone who beat the blackmailer to the punch and set an entirely new storm in motion. Outside, sirens began wailing in the distance. Michael grabbed her hand. Elena, we have to go, now. They ran through the warehouse, slipping into the darkness just as police lights flashed across the riverbank. But even as they fled through the rain-soaked night, Elena felt the truth clawing at her chest. Her world was falling apart, not because of her forbidden love, but because of secrets she didn't even know she was born into. And as she collapsed into Michael's arms backstage behind a shuttered storefront, the weight of everything crashing around them finally hit her. Who leaked the scandal? Who else knew about her love? Who else had been watching? And what would become of her father, her family, and the empire she never wanted, but was now watching crumble piece by piece? She looked at Michael, trembling. What if this isn't the end? What if it's the beginning of something worse? Michael held her, rain dripping from his hair, fear and love tangled in his voice. Then whatever comes next, we face it together. But as the sirens faded and dawn approached, Elena knew deep inside that love alone could not save them from the storm ahead. Not from the consequences, not from the truth, and certainly not from the person who had betrayed her family from the inside. Because someone had. Someone with more power, more access, more motive than the man who blackmailed her. Someone dangerously close. And that truth will not stay buried for long. What does love mean when it becomes the battlefield between legacy and desire? What happens when choosing your heart means losing everything you were raised to protect? And when revenge, betrayal, and forbidden passion collide, who decides whose legacy survives? If you are touched, shaken, or moved by this suspenseful forbidden romance, kindly comment, "I feel this." Share this gripping tale with everyone who needs its message. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVC. Follow for more emotional, chilling stories, and turn on the notification bell to never miss another story that defies the rules of love and life. Because this story leaves us with one haunting question. How far would you go for the person you love, when the world demands you choose otherwise? This is Taboo Romance Stories TVC. Forbidden romance stories told like never before. Stay with us for more gripping tales of passion, desire, and heartbreak that defy the rules of love and life.